It's a blessing to welcome on one of the top JUCO prospects in the entire country, and now one of the newest members of Alabama's 2021 recruiting class, Langston Wilson. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. Well, it's been a few days now, starting to settle in. No more phone calls. What's going through your mind right now?
Uh, Man, really, I just been locked in on kind of the season right now. Just really trying to bond better with my teammates and get really good chemistry with my teammates. Really been locking in, watching film, just really trying to get better. That's really been the main goal right now.
Alabama fans got excited for you. They thought you were going to have 2 years with you. Now it's going to be 3 years. I mean, obviously, we could see pro potential up there in the future, but for now, it's 3 years at Alabama. Discuss how excited you are for that to be able to have 3 years potentially at Alabama now.
I mean, it's amazing. It's great, man. Thinking about it, basically you're essentially coming in as a qualifier, and not just having 3 years to play, but being able to play this year also, and just get all of that experience and having to be able to gain all that knowledge and things like that, and then being able to go over to University of Alabama and then be on the court as a sophomore. That's something that I feel as though is just kind of crazy. I feel like it takes a lot of pressure off. A lot of people don't understand the huge difference 3 years makes as opposed to two. 2 years, you're trying to rush in, learn a system, and a lot of guys, trying to learn the system, they don't necessarily get it until probably the middle of the year. And next thing you know, by the time you get it the middle of the year, unless you're making it far in the tournament, your season's over and you're a senior now. So going in with potentially 3 years to play is huge because even if that same scenario plans out, that next year you're a junior and you still have an entire year of college basketball left remaining. So it's kind of a huge deal with that. So that's just great. Like when I heard that, like I was hyped, man. I couldn't believe it.
And this is critical for especially a guy like you that hasn't played that much basketball, at least hasn't played in a long time. And so I really want to get in that story though. You have been a guy that's always loved basketball, grew up in a basketball background. You were diagnosed with Marfan's though at 12, and that caused you not to be able to play high school basketball. Take us to that first time to learn you couldn't play basketball. What's going through your mind? How'd you find out?
I mean, I wasn't really worried back then, like about not playing basketball. It wasn't necessarily like my first love. Honestly, the first time I ever played in like a competitive basketball game when I was like 7 or 8, like I didn't really like it. Like my thing back then was more or less soccer.
Hmm.
So when I was told that, I was more hurt about not being able to play soccer and not being able to play music. Like they didn't want me like playing instruments or anything like that while I was going through the testing and things like that. That's what I was more hurt about more than anything else.
Now you have Marfan's, or at least you had it to a level where you couldn't play basketball. It's a disease that causes your heart to be enlarged. It could cause obviously the potential risk of dying or passing away if the heart gets erupted during a game. What goes to your mind when you look at that and kind of know the factor that was a part and you still kind of is at about 1% percentile for you? What goes through your mind when you see that and look at it?
It's kind of a different situation for me just because with my situation it was more or less a situation whereas I didn't have any of the the symptoms of it, like the eyesight and the things like that, other than me being tall and more or less lengthy. With my situation, like the way my growth chart was, it looked as if it would be enlarged, like and keep enlarging, but it went to a stance where nothing had changed and nothing had went into that spectrum of it for probably about several years now. So when looking at stuff like that and I see stuff like that, it does make me think a little bit. But more or less not now. It makes me think about more or less in the past. If I hadn't found out about it, you know what I'm saying. I always think like everything worked out the way it worked out, probably because I wasn't playing and I gave my body time, to kind of mature and stop growing and things like that. I feel like, more or less the thought of it isn't about something happening now. It was more or less if something would have happened then. So.
I think this is the disease that's critical for especially athletes because being an athlete gets your heart rate up. It's something that has contact sports, especially. And we have had some tragedies in the past. But I think some of the stories, not until Isaiah Austin's story came out, really brought national attention to this, especially on the athlete scope. How much of an impact did that have, having like Isaiah Austin's caliber go through it, kind of bring awareness to the game and bring awareness to the disease?
I mean, it was huge. It was someone who, I kind of looked up to and kind of had hope with, someone that I felt as though I could relate to, when you first heard his story, it kind of like just sounded like a similar situation. And then in turn, after those couple years when he had been able to start playing again, it kind of gave hope to someone and a lot of kids, and especially someone like me who really, didn't really have hope at that time. So that was huge. I'm a huge fan of Isaiah Austin. I don't know him personally, but it's someone definitely that I consider one of my role models and someone that I look up to.
Now, I mentioned earlier you kind of grew up in a basketball household. Your dad was a person that won Big East championship. He went to the overseas for a little bit, was a Harlem Globetrotter. Having basketball kind of run the family and having him to look up to, how has that impacted your career and your life?
Um, I mean, my dad never really, when I was younger, never really mentioned like basketball and stuff around me. Like he never was like that dad that it was like, well, I played, so he should play. Like my dad never really even brought up like that I should play basketball. I just wanted to play when I tried it when I was younger, just because, my dad's not really that much of a showy person. Doesn't have like the Big East championship trophies or like the NIT championship rings all over the place. Like a lot of times we'd be in the basement, like looking around and messing around and going through stuff, and we would find stuff. Or I mean, for the longest, I didn't know my dad played overseas, like professionally, probably till about like 5, 6 years ago. And I heard about it, from him both talking to other people about it. And then when I was downstairs in the basement, I found like a little jar and there was like a bunch of money in it with funny writing on it when I was small. And I was like, what is this? And then come to find out later, he had told us like it was money from overseas. And when I was younger, I just thought that my parents had traveled a lot. You know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy how he is. He's such a humble dude, and especially the things that he did, and the people he played with. It was nice. I feel as though like, and even now, like he groomed it to the point where a lot of kids, when you have a basketball player that's good in the family, you feel like I have to play because of him, and you're trying to live through that legacy. Whereas in my situation, I feel as though I kind of fell in love with the game for myself. I don't have like I was 3 years old and had a ball in my hand story or anything like that. It was really just for me learning how to fall in love with the game and loving the game for myself, having to find my own way to like it. And even with that being said, like I never really felt like I was in my dad's shadow. Even when I started playing last year, it was never, Ron's son. It was always, oh, that's Langston. And then come to find out later down the line, oh, that's Ron's son. Like, oh, that's crazy. It makes sense. So really, I just appreciate him for the way he brought me up and the way he kind of did everything for me and just really helped me kind of develop a love for the game for myself. And then even now it's just crazy because now I can just go to him for so much insight and things like that. I mean, we may like argue or anything, but he's never going to tell me anything that's wrong. He always keeps it 100 with me. He's going to watch film with me, watch my games, tell me what I'm doing. So I just appreciate him a ton for that.
That's huge because I think, like you said, so many kids grow up in the image, and there are some to the extreme level where you have LeBron's son, where Bronny, it's kind of hard not to miss that part. But just anyone that's played at the college level or pro, they kind of are cast in the shadows. A lot of dads like coaching them the whole life, kind of raising them up into that. How critical is it for a kid, in your case especially, to grow through that and kind of fall in love with the game by yourself?
I feel like it's extremely important because you could be stopping the world's next best soccer player or the next best baseball player, or the next best football player, because my dad was a basketball player and my dad wants me to play basketball. That's not always the case. But I've seen so many situations. I mean, we can just go with Michael Jordan's son. I don't think he really loved basketball. I think he played it because his dad was Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? He was talented at it, yeah, but I don't think he was really truly dedicated and in love with the game. It's like this case with a lot of these really top tier guys. I feel like even with LeBron, I feel like Bronny genuinely like loves basketball. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he has fun doing it. You know what I mean? You're not gonna be out there just shooting around at like 6, 7 in the morning unless you love the game. I just want to go shoot around. Like that's something that you develop within yourself. It's different than your dad waking you up 6 a.m. every single day to go put up shots. It's a routine, that was drilled into you. Getting up 6 o'clock in the morning to get up shots just because you love the game, that's a routine that you fell in love with. It's not that's when basketball isn't work. Basketball, is just something that you love to do. And I feel as though that every athlete needs to be able to love basketball. Like, I feel like a lot of kids, they're like, there's so much pressure the way that people put on it, like, you're the number 2 player in 2028. No kid needs that pressure. That shouldn't be that. Like, a lot of younger AAU teams, I feel like that, like, the way that they're pushing these kids a lot of times, it shouldn't really be like that until really they reach that 7th, 8th grade level. That time period where you're really going through the maturation process, and where you can really start to develop a love for the game. And that's the time period, the crucial time period, whether or not you can decide whether or not, okay, I want to play this or I want to play that. I had the blessing to have the type of dad that I was, where I was able to play multiple sports. And then when it came down to it, even though I wasn't playing, I loved basketball. You know what I mean? But a lot of kids, they don't get to play other sports. They play basketball year round, especially these younger kids. I know plenty of kids from where I'm from that all they do is just play basketball. They just play basketball. They've never tried soccer. They've never tried baseball, anything. And these are the kids that grow up and they're 5'7", and their dad is pushing them to, like, yo, like, what's up? Like, you got to go get a scholarship, this, that, and the third. And you never know. That kid could have been playing soccer and could have been a 17-year-old pro. So I feel as though, like, that's probably the most important thing when grooming your kids. Like, it's different if the kid wants to do it, but at that young age, don't force a kid to do something that they want to do. You know what I mean? I understand that the kid wants to be, you want the kid to be great. You want them to be better, to stand the third. But I feel like, when you're at certain age groups, it should be more about the fun of the sport, and learning how to love the game, and being able to have that choice, rather than it should just be drill, 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 drill. You're going to be really, really good, but you don't even like basketball that much.
Mm-hmm. I believe you also mentioned that. I mean, I know your dad also had either symptoms of it or even had Marfan's as well. Did that lead to you guys testing for yourself, or what kind of led to you guys even doing the test to diagnose you?
My dad had a heart attack. Had to get open heart surgeries and things like that. So that's what led to the whole testing process.
And as you mentioned earlier, you were kind of more upset about not being able to play soccer anymore and playing instruments at that point. So when did you truly fall in love with the game? When did you start missing basketball?
Probably my 8th grade year, middle school. I remember, I was the team manager on my 8th grade basketball team, and all my friends, I mean, they're probably they are my closest group of friends to this day. They went 20-0. Like, it was just like ridiculous. It was like that middle school team was just like amazing. You know what I mean? And it was like seeing that, and it was just being able to be a part of that, just along for that ride, and just wishing I'd be able to play. I remember, playing instruments was always my first love, and we always had band practice early in the morning. And then, they would have morning basketball where kids would come in, shoot around, play 3-on-3 to stand the third. I found myself skipping band practice or sneaking out of band practice to go to morning basketball and shoot and hoop. Mm-hmm. I think that's when I kind of knew, like, man, like, I love this. Like, I love playing instruments, but, like, I'm trying to go play. Like, I'm literally just sneaking out, going to morning baskall. My band director getting mad, calling me in his office like, "Hey, man, you done missed like 4 days this week. Where were you?" And I'm like, I overslept. And he's like, "Man, you're at morning basketball." Like, I would be like, "Oh, I got to go to the bathroom and be in there for 20 minutes, quote unquote," but would be in morning basketball playing 2 games of 3-on-3. And then we'll run back right into band practice like nothing happened, dripping sweat, all of that. Like, it was just, I think really at that point, that was really the point in time where I was like, yeah, like, man, like, this might be the thing for me.
Do you play instruments still today?
Yeah, I only play one. I used to play like multiple, but I only play saxophone now. Like, that's the only one I really keep up with.
Gotcha. So that team you mentioned, who you have Isaiah Wong out there in Miami now. You have Tariq. You have a couple different Division I high major players on that team. Just looking at, though, if you were able to play and knowing how good you could have been, how much more capable would you guys have been, and how special would that team have been?
We've been a top 25 team in high school. I have no doubt in my mind. 100%. We'd have won a Catholic League championship, possibly two. Probably one or two state championships. Probably been one of the best teams in Catholic League history. Anyone that wants to argue, we could set the 5-on-5 up and see for themselves. Really, like looking back on that, I mean, like just the way our team was, you know what I mean. I would have been forced to play the wing like a lot earlier. So you had Tariq and Ajiri alternating at the 4 and the 5, and we never really had like an athletic. That's really what we were missing, like someone athletic on the wing that could knock down a couple threes. Could you catch lobs? You know what I mean? Just another, and defend multiple people. Just another big like athletic dude to have out there. You know what I mean? You put that with Tariq on the post. You got a Jerry on the post as well, a Jerry rim running and things like that. You know, you're not going to be able to box out all three of us every possession. You know what I mean? We all crash the boards hard. You know, I would be able to knock down that trail three by my senior year. I probably would have been in the gym a lot harder earlier. So I feel like, man, it would have been bad. Like, I feel like it would have been really bad. I mean, nobody in the country could already stop Isaiah. Nobody in the country could really stop a Jerry either, or Tariq. So you put me in that fold, I feel like, man, our fifth player, we could be playing 4-on-5. We might still win 17, 18 games. So
I believe you also were called Jake in high school. Why was that the case?
That's just my middle name. Like, my full name is Langston Jake Wilson. That's all. That's just my middle name.
So when did you switch back over to Langston?
When I turned 18, just kind of wanted to embrace it. You know, I never really liked my first name at first, but you know, kind of finding the history of it and understanding why my mom named me that, you know, and I love my first name. It's a beautiful first name, so I'd rather be referred to as it. So
I believe that all three of the siblings were all named after some of the best African American authors. Have the parents ever share with you why that's the case they wanted to go with?
Just to know, you know what I'm saying, just have a piece of history a part of you, essentially. You know, my sister being Maya Ida, my brother being Haley Cole, and me being Langston Hughes. You know, we used to have a bookshelf with all authors, poets, and prominent African American figures. Just to kind of know essentially where you came from, just to know your past and being aware of your history. You know, that was my parents' main reasoning for that.
Absolutely. Well, we go back to a little bit more before you head over your commitment. You talk about having the Mar fans going through each year. Did you get retested, or was it not until the final test where, you know, you're cleared of it?
I mean, it was kind of like the yearly checkup. Like, so basically year by year, my checkups kind of got farther apart. It would go from like every like month, then it would be every 2 months, 3 months, and then it kind of got spaced out to like every year, and then like every year and a half. So when I went for just kind of the yearly before, because I had already graduated high school and I was working, and I was moving down south with my sister, kind of like the appointment before I came down here and moved, is when I got the news.
And when that test comes in, you find out the doctor tells you you're clear to play, your heart's fine. What goes through your mind? What's your reaction?
It kind of broke down crying. I mean, I didn't really have any other type of reaction. Just kind of broke down crying, and kind of in my head was just, I guess, what now? You know, I kind of given up on basketball a little bit, so I didn't necessarily know what I was going to do. I just knew that I was moving down to Georgia with my sister. That was really it.
So how does this all transform when you go out to Georgia Highlands? You know that you're able to play basketball. Like you said, you haven't played now in 4, 5, 6 years. How do you get this all set up to go to Georgia Highlands?
Went to an open run. Coach named Coach Graham, who runs an AAU program called Smyrna Stars, made a call to Coach JJ. Coach JJ kind of watched the film from the open run and offered me a scholarship. And kind of the rest is history, essentially by chance.
Now, that first game you get back on the court, you're playing again. I know you missed your first few shots, took some time to get adjusted to it. What was it like just getting back on the court, though? How'd it feel?
Natural. That's the best way to describe it. Like, I felt like this is like I felt like I belonged. Like, it was just I was kind of living in the moment a little bit rather than playing the game. I won't lie. But it was just like so many years I, you know, watched from the sideline as somebody jumped ball and things like that. Watched as other people's names were called, and finally my name was called, and I was at the jump ball. So really, it was kind of like a moment of relief. Like I was extremely happy. It was just like, wow, like I'm here. Like I'm doing something. So.
I can imagine at that point in time, your big goal just getting back on the court, playing again. It was a great opportunity. When did your mindset start switching over and realizing this isn't just gonna be a 2-year experiment? I can go out there and play Division I at a high major and go to college. When did that start shifting and you realize you have the next level to you?
I mean, I feel as though I always knew. I mean, kind of. I guess my friends and my peers and my dad saw it before I did. Just like going to like open runs and things like that, and playing in open gyms. Um, but I never really like was focused on that. Like coach, like I used to be worried like in the beginning of the season, like I'm not going to get recruited, and Coach JJ always used to just play basketball and have fun, and whatever happens, happens. You'll figure the rest out, you know. So, really, for me, I just did my best to keep improving, keep getting better, keep working on my game, keep putting on weight, and the rest just came with it. I never really took a point in time where I don't think it really hit me, you know, that I could do those things probably until maybe this September that just passed, like it, or maybe even I'll say August, like the JUCO camp, because I still was. I guess it really didn't hit me until, you know, just I don't even know how to explain it. It just I was never like I never really thought about it like stuff was happening, but it all kind of felt like a dream. It was just like, man, like I hear it, but like it can't be true, but like then you just kind of see it for yourself and you kind of feel yourself improving, and now you're playing with professional basketball players, and you're not just out there playing, you know what I mean? You're at open runs with dudes that used to play in the NBA, active overseas pros. We talking pros that play in, you know, A leagues like France. We're not talking about dudes that are playing in the middle of nowhere, like guys that are playing in France, China, you know what I mean, in Europe, Germany, in A leagues, getting paid for this, their livelihood. You're not just out there running up and down the court. You're actually out there, and you're not just scoring here and there. Like people are other pros are looking for you. You know what I mean? They're giving you the ball to make plays. They're trusting you to make plays. You know what I mean? So just really that, really just, I don't think it never hit me. It didn't even hit me yet that I'm committed. Like it's still kind of all like it. I'm kind of in shock a little bit. Like, you know, just because none of this was supposed to happen. So I guess that's the best way I can answer that question.
10 points and 7 rebounds last year, and this was your first year back. Next season, what's the jump for you? Now you're comfortable. What do you think you're capable of averaging next year?
I feel like with the team we have, it's not about averages for me. It's about, you know, just kind of how and where I get my points and percentages for me, you know. Not looking to go out and try and score 25 points a game. You know, for me, I want to be able to, the biggest jump in my game that I want to make, I want to be able to facilitate well. You know, I want to average at least 3 to 4 assists. I want to average 2 blocks a game, at least 12 rebounds a game, and average 3-4 assists a game, but limit that to like a turnover and a half a game. I want to have a positive assist to turnover ratio. Shoot at least 35% plus from the three, you know. So for me, it's not necessarily the like a huge jump. Like I wouldn't have a problem with me averaging 14 and 12. You know, as long as it's a good 14 and 12, and I'm everyone else can get involved and things like that. You know, I feel as though I have a team right now where all of us can average. Anyone on this team right now could go to any other school, you know, and average probably like 25 points a game easily. Like I have no doubt in my mind. That's just how gifted of a group of individuals we have, and how good everyone can put the ball in the basket. But I feel like, you know, for us, everyone just accepting that role and things like that, is really kind of the more important thing. You know, probably you look at the stats and probably there'll probably be a different person leading us in scoring statistically every probably week to 2 weeks, just because that's how good I feel as though my teammates are. You know, we're not at that point right now, but we're definitely on our way to get to that point. So really, really for me, just those things I talked about, and then, you know, being able, you know, just got to get way, way better on defense. You know, I want to be, you know, that guy that can go, that people can go to, and they know that he's going to play great defense and get a stop. So just working on all of those things, rather than, you know, kind of focusing on putting up more points, if that makes sense.
And I think maybe the biggest worry and concern for anyone that's under recruited, under the radar, is COVID, not being able to play any more games, no showcase camps, all that stuff's gone. Although for you, it kind of turned around. You pull away 44 offers. UL, there's a few other guys that kind of blew up during this time period. Was that shocking to you, seeing all the colleges wanting you during this process, during this time?
I mean, for me, it was really a lot later. You know, I kind of watched everyone else getting a bunch of schools and things like that. I mean, I don't think a high major coach called me um, until like May, middle towards the end of May. So really for me, it was like most of quarantine, I was just sitting there watching people, you know, especially when quarantine first ends. Cause you know, I'm not understanding how recruiting is. I'm not knowing that coaches are going from 2021 to 2022. I'm just seeing a bunch of kids in my class in JUCO just offer. This kid's going here, this kid's going there. So it was kind of crazy. I never really was trying to focus on it, but you know, it's hard not to when every time you open Twitter, that's all you see. Like the whole pandemic, it was kind of ridiculous, like the amount of stuff and the recruiting things that were going down. And then, you know, I was getting schools, and I was happy with the schools that I was getting. I never really thought my recruitment was going to go the way that it was going to go. You know, I had Iona, St. Mary's, St. Louis. Like I had some good schools in there. Alcorn State, I was talking to a lot of HBCUs, talking to a lot of mid majors, you know, and then just it kind of took off from there. Like Murray State had offered me, and Maryland, and then after that, it just went ridiculous. It just went crazy. Like, just it went to the point where like I don't think my recruitment stopped. I mean, even after I cut my list, like I was hearing from new schools, like it was just ridiculous. I like never would have thought like some of the schools that were calling I would ever speak to in a million years. Like, and it kind of hit a high point when I heard from when Kansas called and offered. Like that was like kind of the high point. And then even up until then, you know, even hearing from like I got reached out, like the coach from Miami, like Villanova had reached out. Texas, you know, like it was just kept going. So it was really kind of just ridiculous.
I want to ask about the Kansas offer. I think a lot of people, when you got that offer, saw you potentially even going there, at least had them really in the heavy running for you. What happened with that relationship? Why did they not make the top 10?
Um, it really wasn't anything, you know, bad on them. Like I mean, it's just, you know, it was hard to pick my top 10 schools. Um, it really wasn't. There was nothing wrong that they did or anything like that. You know, I just felt to go with these other schools. I just didn't want to have like too many schools in there. Probably I don't really know how to, you know what I mean? It's nothing that went wrong with them or anything like that. I mean, they did a great job. I loved speaking to Coach Self and then Coach Howard. They're both great people, both amazing dudes. Um, I just went with the 10 schools that I felt most comfortable with, I guess.
Now, out of those 10 schools, we know Alabama was a chosen one. Was there another school or two that were really with you until the very end that kind of were pushing you to the very end?
Um, I would think probably, yeah. I mean, Cal State, Bakersfield, and Memphis too.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, probably it was, I would say probably South Carolina. Those schools really were making a push, especially towards the time of me making my decision. So Yeah, them definitely, and Penn State also. So it was really those three, probably Penn State, Cal State, and Memphis the most. Like they were like right up until the end. So I had a lot of respect and a lot of love for all of those coaching staffs as well.
So what did Coach Oates and staff do to pull you away from them and separate themselves and become the school you're going to go to?
I mean, every school in the top 10 that I had in my top 10, I was comfortable with. They all checked the boxes. I mean, a lot of schools, I originally was going to cut my list to 16, but I thought that would be it was kind of just too big for me. But all those schools, those 16 schools had already checked all of the boxes. Really, for me, it's not nothing that any other staff had did wrong or anything like that. Everyone did an excellent job of recruiting me and having a plan for me and showing me and things like that. I just really kind of went with my gut. It just told me that, Alabama was really the right place for me and the place that I needed to be. So when Sunday came around, when you have a bunch of situations that all check all your boxes, the best thing to do for you is to go with your gut. You know what I mean? When you look around the list and you see, okay, this school checks all the boxes, this school checks all the boxes, this school, this school, this school. Great relationship with the coaching staffs, talk with all the head coaches, great relationship with the head coaches. From then you got to just sit down, pray, talk to God, and go with your feeling, go with your gut, and that's what I did.
So at what point would you say Alabama started pulling away? When did you know Alabama was the school you wanted to go to?
Really, for me, it was probably right up until the end.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily have like a decision made. It was hard. It was, you would think, okay, I like Memphis a lot, and then Alabama would make a strong push, and it would be like, dang, I like Alabama, and then Penn State. So it was all kind of juggled. Probably like the day before when I had to do the video. That was probably when I knew.
So when you call Coach Oates and tell him you're going to become a Crimson Tide man, you're going to be part of his team in a year, what goes through his reaction? How do you respond to that?
I mean, they were all ecstatic. I was on a Zoom call. I actually called a Zoom call with them. I got on a Zoom, and I told my dad to tell him. And they were all clapping and smiling and they were hyped, man. After we got off the Zoom, he had sent me a long text message and was just happy and just glad. So it was great.
What is it about Alabama? They're a program that's not necessarily regarded as a blue blood. They don't have the history as a Kansas or Duke or whatever. But last year they finished at a top 10 recruiting class. This year they're number 13. Should be top 10s eventually as well. What is it about Alabama? Why are they so appealing to guys right now?
I don't know about what it was for other players. It's just, I don't know. Just their coaching staff. They got a really really good staff. And they're gonna tell you, they're gonna be honest with you. You can come to them about anything. Not saying that it's not like that with other schools, but I feel like they just do a really really good job recruiting. They're gonna be honest with you. They're gonna tell you like it is, and you know what I mean. They're gonna keep everything 100 with you, and that's what a lot of kids are looking for these days. They don't want to be sold with bells and whistles. They're not gonna come in and tell you, oh, we are this, that, and the third. They're just gonna recruit you honestly and truthfully. So.
Now, SEC play, they were number ninth in SEC last year, but there's a lot of hope with the 2020 class. You guys come in a year or so. However long you are out there, though, what's your goals and what do you guys think you guys can accomplish as a 2021 class and overall as Alabama?
I want to win an SEC championship and go to the Sweet 16. I want to win a national championship, of course, but I want to at least get to the Sweet 16 in my time there and definitely win an SEC championship. I kind of want to be a part of the rise of the program. You know what I mean? Colin started it. You know what I mean? In recent years, I mean, obviously in past years they had players, Robert Ory, and things like that. But I kind of want to be a part of this new era, this new rise of Alabama basketball, this more or less ascension to get to that level. and be regarded as not just a school with the best football team, but a school that is actually a basketball powerhouse, you know. So really just kind of trying to help them out and build that legacy and start that dynasty, man, you know. And I feel like, you know, with the guys we got coming in, you know, it could be scary for the SEC, especially if we're all there for 3-4 years. I mean, I'm the type of guy, like, I like to go 3 for 3. So I say 3 SEC championships, 3 NCAA tournament appearances. You give us 3 NCAA tournament appearances. You know, we probably gonna get a ring out of one of them. So.
For the fans that don't necessarily know you yet, what will you bring to Alabama?
I mean, I'm just kind of a different type of guy. I like to, you know, of course, be in the gym, but I like to kind of be out in the community. You know, you might catch me playing 21 or 3-on-3 with a bunch of like 15-year-old kids, like out back or at like a local park or something like that. I'm just a dude. I'm a regular dude. Like, I'm a regular guy. Like, all this stuff is kind of still new to me. Like, I'm just a regular person. You say what's up to me, I'm gonna say what's up to you. I always try to, you know, answer any questions or anything like that. And I just like to be around and out and about. You know, if you want to invite me over for dinner, I'm gonna come because I love food. um, if you want to, if somebody wants an autograph or something like that, I would do my best to sign it. If I mean, really anything. Like, if you're a kid and you're going to the park with your friends, I'll come play with y'all. Like, I have no problem with it. You know what I mean? If everybody's going to the park, hooping, you know, Coach O's probably won't want me to do that, you know, during the season or something. But if it's like a weekend or something, I'll come up and I'll shoot around with y'all. You know what I mean? I might play a little one-on-one with somebody, you know, just trying to do anything, you know, not just be the guy that played basketball there, but to actually leave some type of mark. You know, I don't have a problem going and talking to like a local elementary school or something like that, or just going to hang out with a kid. You know, like if somebody knew a kid that's going through a rough time or something like that. You know what I'm saying? He love Alabama basketball. Make sure I go see him, bring him like a shirt or some gear, something like that, so he just to help his day. You know what I'm saying? Just because I know that I was that kid. And then, you know, what to expect from me basketball wise. I mean, I'm going to work hard. Um, I'm not going to say I'm going to come in and average X amount of points and this, that, and the third, but I know I'm going to come in. I'm going to have a lot of energy. I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to pound the glass and I'm going to play defense. So really on the court, just expect someone who's going to be a workhorse always, you know, and everything else will follow.
And I have to ask you about one thing. A lot of people know that Jay Scrub reset this whole market. Guys can come out of JUCO and go pro. If that's a potential opportunity for you, is that something you might consider?
Really the approach that I've taken for that is if that bridge comes, we'll cross it. But as of right now, Tide Nation should expect me on campus next fall.
Absolutely, man. One other thing that people have been seeing, a lot of stuff on your Instagram, is that you wear the ripped jersey. Take us through that and why you have that jersey.
The ripped jersey, it happened in practice. It started off as like my freshman year as like a little rip. And it kept getting pulled, tugged, and over time, you know, it just kind of just keeps going and keeps getting ripped. And, you know, like, I was gonna get a new jersey and get it fixed, but it's like, that's like a mark of pride. That means you was going hard in practice. Like, it wasn't just standing around trying to be pretty. You know, I wear all my bumps and bruises. You know what I mean? Got a chipped tooth from playing, but I smile every day. So it's like, it's just one of them things. Like, I love it. It's a practice jersey. It's not my game jersey. It doesn't hurt anybody. You know what I mean? When I go to these scrimmages and playing the scrimmages and things like that, I wear my ripped jersey. So.
My final things I always like wrapping up about is discussing your legacy. And we've kind of discussed you going to more fans. You've gone through a lot of stuff and made it to the point you're at. So when you are done with this basketball game someday, what do you ultimately want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered, you know, as more than just a basketball player, but a great person. You know, someone that that was selfless, someone that would give you the shirt off their back. You know what I mean? I don't want to be the guy that was just a basketball player. You know, the guy that only, you know, of course I want to be, you know, want to be a great basketball player. I love basketball. You know, it's I fought my whole life to play it. That's as itself, but I really ultimately want to be remembered as a great person as well. Someone that, doesn't get in any trouble, someone that can be a role model for other people. I feel like for me, that was my dad, but I know a lot of people that didn't have that role model, you know what I mean? Or that role model, had it made for them and they messed it up. I never want to be that kid. I want to make sure every kid from my neighborhood, to say like, listen, he did it, so I can do it too. You know what I mean? I never want people to be able to interject in that conversation and say, but even though he did it, he did this, that, and the third too. I just want to be able to be that positive role model all around in every aspect of life. Whether it's on the court, off the court, in the classroom, in the community, around people. Just being known as a well-spoken young man that's extremely respectful. So,
in your bio, you say, "Hold on to your faith, trust in the Lord," in French. Why is that? Why do you put that in your bio?
My teammate Felix is French. I had a teammate next year. Well, he's from the Ivory Coast, so he speaks French. And I had a teammate last year, Nick, who's at Mississippi Valley State right now, who's from Paris originally. And I kind of talked to him a couple times, and you know what I'm saying. They had told me, and Felix, is a really religious guy. He prays every morning, and we were talking about it, and I had heard him said it, and it kind of stuck. It is one of them things that stuck, and I don't speak fluent French. I know a couple things. I can kind of hold a little bit of a conversation with Felix, but it's one of those things where when I heard it, I heard it. I loved what it meant, and I went with it. So.
And how has your faith grown over time, going through all the stuff you've gone through, growing up in Philly? How has your faith grown with God over this time to get you to where you're at today?
I mean, extremely. I mean, I feel like my faith is never going to fade. Everything that I went to and so many situations that that God has helped me, avoid, that were negative situations. It's like, for me, I have no choice but to believe in God. Certain situations where I could have been in a certain place in a certain time and something told me just not to go, and stuff went down. It's kind of like, wow, like God really has a plan for me. The way everything has went for me. I just know, like, God, if God isn't real, then I'm not real right here. To me, I feel like, I'm a living testament to just keeping faith, because I didn't do this by myself. I didn't wake up and say, I'm going to get 44 offers and be, you know what I'm saying? That was God. You know what I mean? Yes, I worked hard. Yes, I put in a lot of work, but I also prayed a lot too. I kind of saw, like, once I started praying more, life started opening up more. So definitely, like, I feel like my faith is, by the time, probably, I don't even know, by the end of this month, I might be running around singing gospel music, to be honest with you.
That's awesome, man. Well, I definitely appreciate you taking time to come on today. Look forward to see what God's got next for you, man. And congrats on the commitment again.
Thank you.
Of course, you're always welcome on, man. God bless.